What's going on, everyone? Let's talk about confusion tonight. Let's get into confusion, and then I'm probably going to rant about some other topics and get into some other things as well. So, what is confusion, and why are so many of us confused these days? We're so confused. We're torn. We're told that this is this and this is that, and we don't know what the truth is, and we can't define truth. We can't define morality. We can't define, who we are, what's going on, because there's so much information out there, and we're always being torn from the left, from the right, from the up, from the down, whatever. We're externally fixated. We don't know what to believe. We don't know what the truth is. And I got a comment on, I think it was my last video or the video before then, and someone was like, the comment said something like this. I can't remember verbatim, but it went something like this: the more I learn, the less I know, and the more confused I get. The more confusing all of this gets. Now, this is very, very common, and I'm sure a lot of you often feel confused, especially if you watch a lot of YouTube videos or you're online a lot and you're looking at the news, you're looking at this, you're looking at these statistics, you're looking at all these different individuals who are putting out information over the web or reading books and all sorts of different things. I'm sure you often feel confused. You don't know what to believe. You don't know what to subscribe to or understand. And so this is why I'm making this video. This is very, very important. This is a very, very important topic because we need to get something straight here. We need to align ourselves with something here. First off, confusion is a sign that we're torn. And I've said this already, but we're torn in two or multiple different directions. We don't have a foundation, a strong foundation. We don't understand objective truth, objective reality. We don't have that foundation. Now we can get confused when we see all the shining lights and the brightness of society and all the things that they want us to look into and everything like that, all the conspiracies and stuff. But the thing about it is, if we have a strong, solid foundation, we're not going to be shaken or taken off of our foundation, off of our sturdy, steadfast, principles and such. No one can take us out of that. So therefore, there is no confusion because there's instant perception of what is. There's an instant perception of betrayal, deception. Someone's attempting to knock me off my foundation or crack or destroy my foundation, right? And confusion can come in and help us in a sense, right? Because if we can become aware of this confusion, then we can understand that this confusion stems from ignorance, stems from fear, it stems from all these different dynamics. It stems from the reality that I've been externally fixated for very long, which led me into this dark place, which led me into, forgetting who I am, forgetting my foundation, forgetting the core principles that I live my life in alignment with, or I once did. So we have to come back. We have to understand and go deep into this confusion that we feel. Right? If we feel confused, we got to go deep into it. We can't just run away from it or say, "Oh, I'm just confused. Please help me with my confusion." It's seeking out answers externally. You got to dive into it head first. You got to go into it and feel it and breathe into it. Breathe into that confusion, and then you will see that it's often we're not allowing ourselves to feel how we actually want to feel in the moment. If you're torn in multiple directions, or let's just say two directions, I know this, but this information is coming up and trying to, battle or challenge something that I know, a core truth that I hold, a foundational principle that I live by, right? And this new information about whatever it is that I read online, that I read in a book, or that I heard from somebody, I heard from, Lawrence on his freaking video, is coming in to attempt to dismantle this foundation. And we have to, or this foundational principle, but we have to be careful. It could be a belief. It could be a toxic belief. It could be a poisonous, venomous, destructive belief that the video or the knowledge or whatever information is trying to come in to destroy. And then you can be confused there as well. So you'd be split off into two or multiple directions there as well. So you have to be careful. So in any case, we have to be able to feel all the way through the feeling that we need to feel, that we're attempting to move into, or we're attempting to to allow ourselves to feel what our body, our physiology is wanting to feel in the moment. So if it's wanting to feel that this belief is being challenged, or this belief is being dismantled actively because the truth is coming in and attempting to sweep it away, or attempting to blow it off its course, or just dissolve it, dissipate and dissolve it, challenge it, strike it, right? We have to allow ourselves to feel that and not run away from it or say, oh, no, that's wrong. Oh, that's wrong because I've been living this way for 10 years or 15 years or 5 years of my life based off this belief. And this is to me, my foundational principle, but it's not a real, real steady, strong principle, because it's just a belief in something perhaps poisonous or destructive, right? I'm not talking about having a healthy belief that gets you to gnosis, that gets you to understanding and knowing, right? Knowing something, aligning yourself with truth principles, aligning yourself with natural law, aligning yourself with the principle of cause and effect and such. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a poisonous belief. Now, so the truth comes in to attempt to dismantle this belief, this poisonous belief, ideology that we're holding. We need to allow it to happen so we're not confused. When we get confused, then we don't know what to do. Right? We don't know what to do. We don't know what to believe anymore. We don't know what's going on because we're holding this belief, and there's this truth that's now challenging this belief. Now, going back and winding it back, say I have a core foundational principle based in truth, and then something online is very compelling. There's tricky words. The system has come in and is attempting to take us out of this foundation, right? And now confusion can set in here as well, similar to the poisonous belief example that I gave. So when this happens, we have to understand, we have to take a step back, like I've said in previous videos, take a step back and be aware of what's taking place on the screen, and stay strong in ourselves and breathe into ourselves and understand that. And if we can have that awareness and not be sucked in and glued in and following the breadcrumbs and things like that, and sucked into the screen, sucked into what the propaganda and all the system wants us to feed into, because it's appealing to our skeptic, the skeptic part of us. It's appealing because it's a conspiracy. It's a new, fresh conspiracy. Q just dropped this, or Trump, or this, or that, whatever it is, right? Like extraterrestrials, whatever it is. We have to make sure that these new discoveries, or this new information, doesn't take us away from our core foundation. And I'm going to get into building a foundation briefly as well in this video, if you don't have one, or if you think you have them, because most people want to think that they have a foundation when they actually don't, or their foundation is built off lies and sin and just deception and corruption and things like that, false beliefs. So in order to be strong in what we know is true, first we have to get something right. First we have to get something very clear, and that is, what is truth? Right? Most people can't define this. Most people, and again, the system and society and everything else does a very good job at getting you into this state of confusion, into this state of perpetual ignorance and confusion. And you can't know things. You can't possibly know things in this realm. You can't possibly know things in reality. Everything's just too complex. There's no simple way of doing anything. Everything's too crazy. There's too much information. There's too much going on. The Matrix, the reptilians that are shape-shifting in and out of this reality are controlling us. The loose that is being sucked from our beings. We're being harvested. The Matrix is being projected from the moon, and there's no say. We're on ice, and then we come off ice, right? I mean, there's all this different information going on, right? We were created in a lab. We're chimeras. There's different extraterrestrials created humanity, and we're just batteries or battery slaves the rest of our life, no matter what we do. Like all this information, and then all this information. And I know this is a lot of deeper stuff here, but there's just so much information out there. We don't know what's going on. Some of it leaves us feeling helpless, scared, in fear, and that's exactly how they want us to feel. And that's why all this stuff is out. That's why but this information could also be very uplifting and energizing and helpful and inspiring to get us to help expose the system and expose what's going on and help inspire other people to awaken in their lives and harness their gifts and take their their battery juice, their power back from the system that is attempting to suck it dry and shuttle our free will and shuttle our energy into what they want to create, right? So it should inspire us. It should help us. And that takes getting something straight, like I said, and that's defining what is truth. How do you define truth? What is the truth? The truth is what is. It is what is. It's what's taking place right now. It's what is. We hear about a relative truth or a subjective truth. Now, this is the thing about, and this all ties into confusion. And I'm kind of going a little bit off course here because it's all relevant. It's all interconnected. It's all very important. And it's just where I'm going. It's just where I'm going. Here we go. People talk about subjective truth. People talk about how truth is subjective in some cases, in the sense, and this is what they're getting at. Okay. When you impress a belief into your mind, whatever that belief may be, the belief that Trump is a freaking god, that he's going to save the world with Q and everything's going to be great, and they impress that belief into their minds, that becomes a reality for them. That becomes their perception. That becomes the lens which they view reality through. That becomes their world view. They view the world in that way. So they're no longer living in a reality that you're living in or a reality that I'm living in. We're all living in our own bubbles and realities, by the way. There's very few of us that are actually living in reality, right? There's very few of us that are aligned with truth, have aligned their perception with truth in such a degree, to such a degree that they're always on that frequency with truth. Some of us can get very close if you look at truth as this straight line, and you look at us, our perception, as a wavelength, right? Like this. Going, this is the truth, and this is the wave. You see, most people are like, woo, boo, like they align their perception with truth maybe once every 20 years. Some people once every 10 years, some people once every 5 years. Perhaps they go outside and it's a beautiful night and they look up and there's that moment of awe. They were in that perception. They saw reality for what it is right then in that moment. But then the thoughts come in, and this comes in, and what am I going to eat for breakfast? All of these different things come in, and they're no longer in that perception. Now they're back in the bubble. Now they're back in the conditioning. Now they're back in the monkey mind. Okay. So there's very few people that are actually on that straight line. I'm not sure if it even exists. Maybe some monks or something somewhere are in that perception, but more than likely, your goal, what you're attempting to achieve is to bring your consciousness to such a place where you're in harmony with truth most of the time, like this. I mean, you're perceiving truth most of the time, a lot of the time, at least as much as you possibly can, to the best of your ability. Okay. So back to the reason why people think that the truth is subjective. And you hear this often, you hear, that's your truth, right? This is very new agey, right? I appreciate your truth. Thanks for sharing your truth. Now, the problem with this statement, and though there is some validity to it, I'm not going to shut it out completely. But the problem with this is the truth is objective. Truth is objective. All we can do is align our perceptions to truth, right? And the truth that I'm speaking about is what is, okay? The truth is I am speaking right now on a camera, on my laptop, in my office. I have a cup here. I'm going to drink some water. I just drank some water. That's the truth. I just drank some water. Because the truth is also what already has taken place. It's the truth. It's set in stone. It's set throughout, and it's rippled throughout the entire universe, and it is set. It is what is. It is what created this moment. The past is what created this moment. Okay? So the past is set in stone. It is what is, as well as the moment right now, where we're at in reality. What's taking place on the world stage? What's taking place in your living room? What's taking place down the street? Okay? What is right now is the truth. Where the subjectivity comes in, where people think that's your truth, is when you impress a belief, like I said before, I think I kind of went off on a tangent a little bit. When you impress your mind with the belief, like Donald Trump is God, and that's your world, that's your worldview, so you create it for yourself. That's why we say, again, that's his truth or her truth. But that doesn't mean it's the truth. It doesn't mean that it's truth. It stemmed from a belief that they impressed into their mind, and their mind, their subconscious mind said, it registered it and said, oh, this is truth, because they keep talking about it, they're living it, they keep taking it into their mind, they keep taking it into me on the subconscious mind, they keep taking it in, taking it in, and believing it, and convincing themselves that it's true, and hanging around people that are also in that same box, in that same pen, right? So, and the subconscious mind doesn't tell a difference. It doesn't say it's a belief, or this is just an opinion, or this is just a lie, or this is just whatever it is. The subconscious mind doesn't work that way. You drop an idea into the subconscious mind, and you water that idea, you water that seed for long enough, it's going to sprout. It's going to grow into a full-fledged reality for you. It's going to manifest in your reality. That's how the mind works. So when it comes to truth, truth is objective. It's not subjective. Okay? It's not subjective. And I understand why people can come into this place psychologically and come to this place and think that the truth is subjective, when it's absolutely not. It's subjective, and all we can do is align our perceptions to it, which brings me back to confusion. People are confused because they don't understand that the truth is objective. They don't understand natural law. This is what brings me to natural law. Because foundational principles, we have to have foundational principles that we live by, we live in every single moment. I'm not sure if any of you have ever sat down with a journal or with a piece of paper or just with themselves in meditation and asked themselves, what are my core principles? What are the principles that I live by? How do I live my life? According to what? According to truth? Can you define that? Can you get into that? Even if it's not with words, can you get into that in your imagination? Can you get into that at all? Can you dissect that? What is your foundation built upon? These are the questions we have to ask ourselves. What is our foundations built upon? Lies, deceit, beliefs? What I say in videos? What other people say in videos? What the books say? What the knowledge says? The jargon? What is it? The teachers? What my priest says? What my mother and father expect of me? Is my foundation built upon these dynamics? Or is it built upon learned experience, wisdom? Is it built upon knowledge that's been applied and integrated in your own life, and now it's lived? Because I'm in alignment with natural law. I'm in alignment with the principles of morality, the principles, truth principles, objective truth principles. And this is why confusion sets in, because we're not in alignment with these principles. We sit on a computer 4 hours a day looking at 100 different YouTube videos, and no wonder we're confused, because everyone's saying something different. No one's on the same page with these types of things. And that's okay to a certain extent. That's what makes us unique. That's what makes us, we're all here to express a gift. But if you don't have discernment, if you don't have foundational principles, then you can't watch a video without being torn. You can't watch a video without being shifted into another direction or taken off your foundation, or taken away or ripped away from your foundation and left in confusion and shambles, because you're like, oh, I don't know what to believe anymore, because everything's just falling apart, and everything's just because I don't have a core foundation that I'm living in, because I don't live and breathe and radiate truth in every single freaking moment. And that's a problem. It's a big problem. Going down the conspiracy route and doing all these things and absorbing all that knowledge and taking all this knowledge of all these different sources and stuff like that and connecting all these dots is good to an extent. But if we're not applying this knowledge and living it in our lives and then sharing it with other people, then what the hell are we doing? No wonder we're confused. What are the choices that we're making? What are the habits that we're in the cycles of? How are we living our lives? These are the things that we have to get into if we want to understand confusion. We want to understand what leads to confusion, which the natural path to confusion is fear. Starts out with fear, and then ignorance, and then it goes into confusion. And then eventually it leads to full-blown chaos. So we have to look at the confusion. We have to understand that I'm confused because I'm being ripped apart. I'm not allowing, and also I'm not allowing myself to feel what I need to feel. Okay. Whether that be, again, like I said in the previously in this video, whether that be I'm being challenged, a belief system is being challenged. I need to feel that all the way through so I can allow that belief system to go. And I can go into the root of that belief system. Oh, it stemmed from childhood when I was 7 years old. Oh, or when I was throughout my entire childhood, I was programmed from my father. He said, you gotta make good grades to be successful. You gotta make good grades or else you're a failure. And that we hammered that into my mind over and over and over. I'm not saying me, I'm just saying in general, this hypothetical situation that I'm creating to relay a message here. This program was hammered in my mind over and over and over again for 10 years straight. You know, and that's what the confusion goes back to. If you allow it to take you there, you got to allow it to take us there. We got to go into the darkness. We got to face the darkness. And then through the darkness, the light will come. The light is at the end of the tunnel. It is there, but you have to walk through it. There's no escape. You can't rise through the top. You're not going to be able to dig a hole, and then the light's going to be up there. You're not going to be able to dig below. You're not going to be able to make any shortcuts. There's no airplane or helicopter that's going to come in and it's going to swoop you up out of that tunnel. And all of a sudden you're just going to be in the light and the enlightenment. Everything's going to be great. No, you have to keep walking through the darkness. That's what the journey is about. That's what doing this work is about. It's about facing the shadow, facing the darkness, going through it, feeling the emotions that arise, feeling the confusion that is overwhelming your being and overwhelming your physiology and making you feel like shit. You got to feel it all the way through. Close your laptop, close your journal, and sit there and breathe into it until it shows you something. What's it showing you? Don't let the left brain dissect it and rip it apart and give you excuses and go, I got to go brush my teeth. I got to go take care of this. I got to go take care of that. You need to sit with it and allow your right brain to take you on that adventure, take you on that vision quest like a dream. And then you get to that root. You get to that root, and then you allow yourself to feel the emotion as if you were there again, in that wherever the root is. You allow yourself to feel that all the way through. And then release it. Release it through the tears. Release it through whatever means, however naturally it needs to be released. That's how you face confusion. That's how you face anything that's taking you, that's holding you back. That's how you face anything that's holding you back. You go through that process. It's just one example, one tool that you can use in your life. So the essence of this video is facing confusion. Why are we confused? What's going on? Why are you torn? Probably because you don't have a foundation. Probably because you're too fixated on the screen. Probably because you're taking in all information from 1,000 different sources at once, and you can't possibly take in all that knowledge at once. You can't possibly take in and register all that information at once. So you're just like, oh, and the system is bursting. Your brain is frying. System overload. That's what's taking place. You're too externally fixated. You have to come into yourself. You have to come into who you are. You have to come into your being and feel and sense and intuit what's taking place. Come back to that foundation. What's your foundation? Is it rooted in truth? Is it rooted in objective truth, in principles, real principles? And honestly, there are a few people that do live in alignment with truth principles. There are a few people, and I know many people that do, but the vast majority do not have that solid foundation that they live in no matter what, and nothing can take them out of it. Nothing can take them out of it. They can observe life. They can see reality. Yeah, we're not perfect. We got things going on. I got stuff going on. People got stuff going on. We're still bringing things out. We're still facing, fear, and we're still going through that process. But what I'm saying is, underneath it all, at the core of our beings, we have to have solidity. We have to have that foundation. And that's the importance of understanding natural law. That's the significance of understanding the principle of cause and effect, the principle of mentalism, the principle of correspondence, as above, so below. We have to understand these dynamics. We have to understand these principles in the core of our being, not just intellectually, not just conceptually. We have to understand them by applying them to our lives and sensing them and feeling them within the depths of our being, because they exist inside of us and outside of us simultaneously. We are intricately woven into the framework, into the fabric of natural law itself. There's no disconnect. There's not something separate from you. They're not an object in your mind. They're not an idea in your head. They are real, objective spiritual laws that govern the consequences of the behaviors of beings with the capacity to align their perceptions with these laws. And if you can sense that, if you can get into that, and you can taste that and feel that, and live in alignment with this objective truth, objective reality, you can't be swayed. You can't be taken. There's no information out there that's going to take you off your core principles, out of your core principles, and off your foundation. That's why it's so important to have truth as our foundation. What is? Not some airy-fairy belief system. Not what could be, not what if. Not all this information that everyone wants us to believe and everyone wants us to subscribe to, because everyone wants to think that they're right about everything. You know, most people want to believe that their thoughts and their ideas and everything else is correct. So they go on YouTube, or they go on all these different platforms, or they even write books and things like that, or they talk to people in their environment or whatever, constantly seeking reinforcement for these beliefs. Because if you're subscribed to Matt's channel and you understand what I'm about to say. Reality will always show you exactly what you want to see. So you'll never actually you're never actually going to get anywhere, you know, until you finally face the suffering that being wrong gets you to. Being wrong in your mind, having poisonous ideologies and belief systems, having no foundation, or having a very shaky foundation, it's going to lead to suffering. Because you're probably living in fear. You're probably living in some form of ignorance of who you are, your essence, who you actually are, your purpose. Why are you here? What's going on? Are you integrating your shadow? Are you integrating your pain? Are you using your pain and transmuting it for the greater good? What are you doing with yourself? What are you doing with your life? You can't answer these questions, or you haven't answered these questions, you haven't gone to these questions, you haven't done these things, then you probably are going to be going through more suffering in your life until you actually face yourself. So if you're confused, take this to heart. If you're confused, if you feel like you're being misled or misguided, or there's something taking place where you're being torn in multiple directions because you just don't know what the truth is, you got to reevaluate your life. You got to go deep inside of yourself. And you have to feel that confusion all the way through and connect it to its root, connect it to its source. There's something going on internally that we're not with. We're not allowing ourselves to be with. We're not allowing ourselves to feel. It doesn't have to do with, you're taking in all this knowledge, And so we say, the more I learn, the less I know, and the more confused I get. Well, when you're taking in knowledge, it's important to be able to apply that knowledge to your life so you can actually gauge the veracity of said knowledge, and then embody that knowledge, and then live the knowledge. So it doesn't lead, it's not just a bunch of jargon. It's not just a bunch of words in your head built up and accumulating in your head, because if it does become a bunch of words accumulating in your head, then you're going to get confused. But if you can apply the concepts that you're absorbing, you can apply the knowledge that you're absorbing, and not just becoming this huge brain, your brain remains the same normal size because you're constantly taking in knowledge, breathing it in, applying it to your life, and letting go of the words. You're not attaching and using your mental energy to remember all these words. Remembering and retaining knowledge and retaining information is an automatic process. It's a natural process that happens when you are reading and when you're absorbing and when you are starting to live and embody the knowledge that you're taking in. I learned this early on. When I first opened my eyes and I started reading a bunch of books and stuff. I was so worried and so hell bent on memorizing all these words. I'm like, oh my God, it's got all these great concepts. And I was just getting triggered. These little mini awakenings were being triggered. These realizations. I was getting the chills all the time. Oh man, it's so true. It's so real. I got to memorize every single word. And I started frying myself. I started burning myself out because I couldn't memorize it all. And then I think I read a book by Krishnamurti, and I think he said somewhere in there, he said, you learn and you memorize, the words stick, the certain concepts and the certain ideas and the words stick that need to stick. You will naturally retain what you need to retain. You will remember what you need to remember in every single moment. And ever since then, I've lived by that. And it's so true. I haven't tried to memorize. Maybe once or twice I have, but for the most part, I haven't intentionally tried to memorize certain words or certain concepts or certain notions or whatever since I read that book almost 5 years ago. And I've done just fine. I've done just fine. And it's allowed me to free up so much mental energy and so much of my awareness and so much of my attention to be able to actually read books and not worry about memorizing concepts and memorizing ideas and memorizing words. I'm not here to memorize those things. I'm here to integrate them. I'm here to take them in, absorb them, integrate them, read them as much as I need to, of course. Read them, read the knowledge, take in the knowledge as much as I need to. It could be the same freaking paragraph, the same principle or whatever it is over and over and over again to allow myself to take in that knowledge. Sure, that's fine. But I integrate it. I take it in, I integrate it, and I can gauge the veracity almost immediately at times. And other times I need to contemplate it for a little bit. But at the end of the day, I don't allow the words to build up to where I'm just like, I'm like swimming like a ball pit at Chuck E. Cheese's. I'm swimming through these freaking words, and I'm just like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And I think that's where a lot of people are at who are confused. We have to have a foundation, and then upon that foundation, we can create a beautiful structure, however the hell we want to create it. However our unique gift wants to express itself. But the foundation has to be laid. And if it's unsturdy, if it's fragmented, if it's built upon lies and deception and everything else, we have to look at that. We have to look at that. Even if it's one lie inside that foundation, we have to look at that. We have to look at that, and we have to purge it out. And, a lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people don't want to realize the truth of what's taking place inside of them, the truth of what's holding them back. Because again, we want to feel secure. Our egos want to feel secure. We want to feel like we got it figured out. We want to feel like our beliefs are valid. We want to feel like, we got it going on. And so this work is the hardest work of all, because it challenges you on every single facet of your being. It challenges you on every single level, and it forces you to admit certain things. Like I had to admit in the beginning of my journey that I was wrong about everything in life, basically. The way I viewed life, all of my beliefs, everything that I built my foundation upon unconsciously until I first opened my eyes were wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong in my behavior. I was wrong in my thoughts, the thoughts that I was feeding. I was wrong in my life in general, the way I carried myself. And then multiple times throughout my life, even after I opened my eyes and I started doing this work, I've had to admit that I've been wrong multiple times. And so this process, it's a constant process of constantly being aware of yourself and constantly, taking in things, applying it to your life, understanding, and then taking in things and purging things out. making sure that you're not attaching yourself to certain poisonous ideologies and certain ideologies that aren't conducive to what's actually taking place. Because again, there's so much information out there right now. I mean, it's insane. There's so much information. It can be so difficult to navigate. But if you are in alignment with that inner tuning fork, if you're in alignment with your inner moral compass, your intuition and your instincts, they will guide you in the right direction. They will take you exactly where you need to go. It can be very difficult. It can be very challenging, but nonetheless, this is what we need to be guided by. This is what we need to listen to. We need to have a healthy balance of reason and intuition. We have to bring them together. We have to unify the two brain hemispheres. We need to come into that core foundation, establish our foundation on truth principles, understand natural law, live in alignment with it, and then we can start building on top of that. Then we can start building on top of that. But no matter what, our foundation is truth. So there's no more confusion. There's no room for confusion. And if there is confusion, it's a sign of intelligence telling you that there's something wrong and there's something up. And again, we have to feel that all the way through. We have to allow ourselves to feel the confusion all the way through so we can get to the root of it so that it can go, and then we can transmute that energy and use it to propel us into learning from whatever the confusion leads to. Learning from it, transmuting it, using it. When we can transmute confusion, we transmute it into love. And that love leads us to knowledge, because we want to understand who we are. We want to understand our purpose. We want to understand our interconnectedness to all things. We want to understand it. We want to be able to articulate it to others because we feel that love radiating from our beings. We're filled with it, and we need to share it. We need to share it, so we need knowledge. We need to apply that knowledge, which leads to sovereignty. It's the natural order of this dynamic. It leads to sovereignty. So your confusion, if you can sit with it, if you can allow yourself to feel it all the way through and trace it to its root, it transmutes to love, which leads to knowledge, which leads to sovereignty, which then leads to freedom, which then ultimately leads to order, leads to harmony, balance in life, within and without, as in on the outside, within and on the outside. Internal balance within, external balance. That's how it works. That's how all this works. It's the principle of correspondence in natural law. That's why natural law, objective truth, this objective truth, immutable truth, has to be our foundation. Whether we know it conceptually, whether we know it intellectually, whether we even know what the natural law principles are or not. It's the golden rule. Treat others how you want to be treated. It's the law of attraction. The energy you emit is the energy that you attract. We all know this on some level. A lot of us know this on some level. I'm sorry, we don't all know this. We definitely don't all know this. Look at the world. But most of you watching this, I'm sure you know this on some level. Maybe you don't have the natural law principles memorized. Maybe you don't understand it from the Kabbalion aspect of the 7 Hermetic principles, but you understand it on another level, right? I'm sure you do. But it has to be our foundation. We have to understand that this is an objective truth that we need to live by if we are to cease confusion in our lives and be clear about what we want and be clear about what we are here to do. We need to have that clarity more than ever. We need to have that clarity. We need to live it. We need to breathe it. We need to express it. We need to be it. So I appreciate you all so much for sitting through this video with me and going through all this with me. I'm really, really excited to be sharing my passion and sharing my gifts with you all. I'll see you next video. Bye-bye.